time to come, and we apologize for the change in venue. It was unforeseen, and we couldn't do anything about it, so we apologize about that. And sorry about the rain. Showers of blessings. So Natasha is going to speak to us today. She is from Soulful Life. She is amazing. She does the 12-week, it's actually a 12-week program where you learn how from scratch to start your own organic food garden. So she's going to wrap all of that up in an hour. She's that good. And then she's just going to add a little other tidbits of pesticides and herbicides and so forth that you can use that is natural for your garden and all those things. Because as we know, the times that we are living in, it's just going to get worse, and we need to learn to be sustainable. We need to prepare, and we need to help others to prepare for what is coming. So learning about your own, how to make your own food garden is imperative. And once we have garnered this knowledge, I hope that you will share it with others, and so that others can be prepared as well. So we're just going to open in prayer. You can close your eyes. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this amazing opportunity. I pray that you will be in our midst. I pray that you will be with Natasha, be with each one here. All these things in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Natasha.
Good morning, everybody. As you heard, Natasha is Soulful Life facilitator for the organization for the past 10 years now, and I'm training in the retreat, Stephen, Lavendale, Camden areas. So I've got this whole area I'm really in. It's quite a lot to do, but I take 2 groups at a time, so per cycle. So this cycle started in September and it's ending in November. So Cindy is one of the people that I train on a Thursday, and the group is quite big. So there are 20 people, 20 plus people in the group, and then I have another group on Monday that I'm training as well in a different area. So first of all, I just want to say that gardening has changed as the times has changed as well. So due to global warming, the way we garden also needs to change, because we need to think about the environment and what's happening. So if you think about 30, 40 years back, if you walk into anybody's yard, there would be fruit trees and a vegetable garden, and each household would start with house out of their own garden and with food and so on. So as time changed, more shops popped up, and it's easier to access, and you can just go to the shop and buy potatoes, onions, and whatever it is that you need, you can just go to the shop and that's it. You do not have to wait 2-3 months maybe for a vegetable to be ready to eat and take a pot of food. But due to times being getting so tough and hard after COVID, people actually realized more that it is more sustainable and more profitable to have your own garden at home instead of going to the shop every time and going to buy vegetables. Also, what happened is that vegetables is not nutritious anymore like it used to be. So if you go to the shop and you buy, for instance, a tomato, and you compare it to a tomato that you're growing at home, the nutrition is going to be a lot different. Because that tomato that you bought at the shop has been harvested maybe a week, 2 weeks ago, compared to a tomato that you harvest now, fresh out of the garden. It's not got all the nutrition that your body needs in that fruit. So, first I want to start off with your soil. So, everybody's soil look like this. It's sandy, it's dead. It doesn't look like anything is going to grow in there with this nutrition. Some of it is even, some people say it's even actually more whiter than this. So as you can see, there's nothing basically in it, it's just sand. You know, there's nothing in it. So first of all, you have to feed your soil. That's the basic that you have to start. And by feeding your soil, you're going to add some compost. You're going to add some compost. So a lot of us can't afford compost because it's getting expensive now. So on the training, we also teach the people how to make their own compost. And it's not even that expensive when you think about all the stuff that you throw away every day that can actually go to your compost. So it's your vegetable peels and cuttings, fruit cuttings, leaves that might fall from a tree, grass that somebody's cutting, bark that has been stripped from a tree, toilet throw tubes, egg boxes, tea bags, eggshells, all those stuff can go into a compost heap, and then you can start making compost on your own. So you know exactly what is in the compost, you know exactly what's going into your soil. There's no artificial fertilizers, there's no artificial stuff. You know that you don't know what's going to happen in your soil. So when you start mixing your soil with your compost, you're putting in more life into your soil. So you mix, when you start off, yes, you mix your compost. Usually we start off with a ratio of 1 by 1. And as you can see, I'm mixing in the soil. You can see the color is starting to change. Life is coming back into the soil. And that is what we need. So if you're going to have healthy soil, your plants will be healthy, and then you eat them healthy vegetables. So it's a whole cycle that needs to happen. So you can see the difference already of how the soil is changed. And this is exactly what needs to happen. So make sure when you buy compost, you buy organic compost. Because other people, they use chemicals to decompose their stuff. They just use maybe tree bark and then they decompose it, they call it compost, but there's no nutrition. The compost that we as Soulful make, we put in vegetables, fruit, we put in all types of nutrition, even herbs that has maybe been overgrown in the garden. We chop a few leaves off and then we put it in the compost. So that also brings nutrition to the garden. So it's not just about one thing that can go in. There's a lot of things. Remember, everything that used to have life can go back into the soil because it was alive. If you just think about the paper, that paper comes from a tree which was alive. So it can go back into the soil. The only thing that we need to be careful for when it comes to paper is that it mustn't have that shiny sprayed on stuff. So that is not good. So if you think about newspaper ads and you see that Checkers ads, those have the shining, that is not good. But your normal newspaper or the ShopRite ad, those are still good. You can still use. So first of all, when you finish mixing your compost, also you need to sift out when you're going to do seeds. So I've just got a few seeds here that I'm going to demonstrate how to sow it, and I'm just going to do it in here. Okay, before I go any further, is there any questions?
So do you put any liquid into the compost?
No, you don't have to put any liquid into the compost. I usually don't make it too moist. But you can moisten it if you want to. So what I do is, watering cans is very expensive. So I make a small little holes, needle pin holes, I don't know if you can see clearly, in the lid. Then I put the water in here. You can see how easy it is. So it's easier to spray the water. So you can moisten your water. You see there, yes. How beautiful that is. It doesn't fall hard. So when you let your seeds, can you maybe just move? There's a seat on that side. Because I need to be using something. Yeah, I found it wrong. Sorry. So, this is, you moisten your soil, and then in a little about seed being costly. If you have a tomato at home, and that seed in the tomato, that's basically a lot of tomato plants. If you buy a butternut or pumpkin, there's seeds in it. If you have a fruit, whichever a vegetable that we have, there is seeds to what you can plant. So that is God, the way God created life. He created life to reproduce. So even if, for instance, there's a vegetable, for instance, like a beetroot or a carrot, there's no seeds in that. But if we leave the plant long enough, it will go into seed, and that is the plant's way of reproducing. So it will definitely go into seed. So this is some turnip seeds that I'm just going to illustrate in here. So all these seeds are small. You get much bigger seeds, as you can see. I don't know if you can look at it up close. This is very small seeds. I don't know if everyone knows the turnip seeds. We all know the turnip as the raap for the soup. Did you know that turnip leaves are edible as well? So a lot of us throw the turnip leaves away, but the leaves are edible as well, and it's very nutritious. It's actually more nutritious than the pulp itself. Beetroot leaves as well, and carrot leaves. So all of us throw our leaves away, but that leaves are very nutritious. The carrot leaves we can actually use in place of parsley. So if you don't have parsley and you have maybe carrots growing in your garden, or the carrot leaves, you can chop them up and use it in your frikadel, or use it in your soup, or use it in your stew, or even juicing, which Peter will be demonstrating later. It's very, very nutritious. So those are leaves that you can eat instead of throwing it away. So if you got your soil mixture, so your soil mixture will be one by one. Your say for instance, you use a half a bucket of soil and a half bucket of compost. So you mix it all in. You make a little rack about the half size of your finger. You don't make it too deep, because if you plant seeds too deep, it's going to rot and it won't have enough time to get to the sun to germinate. So what you do is just make a little rack like that, little line. I don't know if you can see. And then what you do is just sprinkle, and then you basically need just a pinch like this. You don't need a lot. You don't have to use the whole packet. So you just sprinkle that little bit in, and that is it. I'll even, but it's in my hand, I'll rather put it back because I can use that on another occasion of planting. So a lot of people feel the need to plant everything at once. But it's not necessary to plant all your seeds at once, because what happens is, when you're going to have too much ground, you won't be needing that much that is growing, all of it at once. So you rather start your seed boxes off in stages, like once a month. So you start a new seed box. So for instance, you have 20 cabbages growing, but you won't all the 20 cabbages in one go. So it's rather plan your garden, and that is very important. Plan your garden. So if you're going to only have a garden for your household, you know you're only going to need that much. But if you're going to have a garden for maybe bartering or sharing or whatever, then it's all good. Then you can plant more. So you pinch down, the soil, and then just pat it down softly. Okay? So you don't press it too hard. So a lot of people will press the soil. You don't press the soil too hard. So you want a little bit of air still, so the soil can, the seed when it germinates, then it can still make its way to the top and germinate. So you just pat it down like that. And then I didn't bring any mulch, but we usually give, the organization gives all this for the home gardeners, where you have a little mulch, and you can use straw, you can use leaves, you can use hay, you can use sawdust, anything that is a natural product and it's brown, you can use as mulch. Even if you don't have those stuff and you have a lot of toilet roll tubes or egg boxes, you can chop that up into little pieces and you can use that as mulch. So for a lot of people, they don't think about what is mulch. It sounds like you're speaking German. I don't know what you're speaking, what is mulch. So mulch is like a ground cover for your soil. So like I mentioned earlier, times have changed and a lot of people will just plant this stuff and there they go and that's it, and just come in water. So mulch has been brought onto the gardening due to we need to protect our soil now because the sun is so harsh and the wind dried our soil so quickly. All the nutrition from the soil gets evaporated. So when you mulch your soil, that is a covering of the ground, yes, to protect your soil from the harsh sun, from the wind drying it out. Also, if you have a problem with weeds, people, mulch your garden to a nice layer, nice thick layer. That suppresses your weeds, so then no weeds will grow. Okay, and also in winter, so if you have a very cold winter maybe, and you're worried about the plants suffering, if you have mulch on your garden, then the plants can still thrive due to the mulch keeping the soil warm. And during summer, it keeps the soil cool. Okay, is there any questions before I go in? Any questions? Yes?
I just wanted to know the mulch, you mix it in the soil, or can you just...
You just, mulch needs to be on top of the soil.
Okay.
And that is why if you mix it in the soil, it's going to give no cover.
Yeah.
So you have to put it on top. It's like you're putting a blanket on a bed.
Yeah.
You know, so you want to put a blanket, it's like putting a blanket on your soil. Alright? So mulch needs to be on top. What about the wind that will blow it away? Very good question. So yes, the wind will definitely blow it away because when it gets dry, it will be easier to blow away. So then you just have to come back and then put it again back on. So if you have like a barrier around your bed, so the wind comes and it will blow away. So the next day you come and then you just have to put it back and just see that then you water it. So as soon as you keep on watering it, it will stay where it is. Okay, so yes, that will happen. That's why we need to be in our garden every day. Gardening is not a weekend job or a once a week job or once a month. Gardening is like tending to your children every day for, you know, for the rest of your life, basically. Okay, so is there any other questions?
Yeah, I see you have different color, watering of different colors. So what type of water do you use for gardening? Is it only the clean tap water, or can you use the washing, you know, when you do the washing? That water
That's a
can
very
you
good
use?
question.
Yeah.
So, preferably the rainwater that you catch is the best water. That's the best water, but you can use tap water. But washing water, it all depends what detergents you use. If you use an eco-friendly detergent, then it's all good and no bleach. So there mustn't be any bleach in your water. But if you don't use an eco-friendly detergent, I would not recommend you use that water for your garden. Maybe for the big trees, maybe you can use it. But not for your vegetable garden, preferably. It's a
So
no-go.
what soap powders if you wash with soap powder, what soap powders in water, then can you put on the plants?
No, I would not recommend any soap powders. But that's why I said there is eco-friendly, I don't know the names. There is eco-friendly soaps that you can use. So when you do that, and then you can use the water. But this normal soap powders that we get in the shops, it's no good. No sunlight, no air, no nothing, none of that. So rather use that water to maybe clean your floors if it's not that dirty, or you use it to clean the toilet or something else if it's not, the water's not that dirty. So you're still reusing that water, so you're using less water. But no, even if you're rinsing your clothes with Stay Soft, no go for the garden. Please, it do affect the plants in the long run. You know, it kills all the microbes in the soil. So please don't.
And it will affect the nutrition.
And it definitely will affect the nutrition. Yes.
chemicals in there.
The chemicals is a no-go, yes. Okay, is there any other questions?
And the boil water?
Boil water is good, but you need to test the boil water because sometimes there's too much iron in also. Or it's too salty. It all depends where you are. If you're closer to the sea, it will be salty. If you're further away to the mountains, it will have more iron in. So you can, you need to test your water.
How?
I'm not sure how you can test it, but what you can do is maybe, even if you can mix the water, so if you maybe use some of the boiled water with your tap water, and then it might be good. So then, but even if it's salty, then it will be diluted, and if it's too much iron in it, then it will be diluted. So I would rather say mix the two, and then it will be good balance. Then you're balancing out definitely, yes. Is there any other questions? Okay, so then also after you've planted your vegetables, so you've got the seeds coming up, and you've got your nice little plants. So you're transplanting your plants into a garden or into a container. Think about your space for your garden. So I found out that a lot of people, they have a lot of plants in one container. So for instance, a cabbage, cauliflower, tomato tree. So they have lots. They're just this small container, and they crammed up this container with a lot of plants. I know you want a lot of vegetables. You know, you want to use as much of the space that you have, but that is not ideal for the plant because the plants need that space, especially for rooting. So if you're gonna have 3 or 4 stuff in one small container, they're gonna fight for nutrition, they're gonna fight for space. So you're gonna be struggling to get the proper, like for instance, a cauliflower. You're gonna get a very small cauliflower, or the cauliflower will be bolting because it's struggling for nutrition, it's struggling to survive. So get the proper spacing for your, and we have a spacing guide in our manual. We have our space, a planting guide that gives you all the spacing that's necessary for each plant. So not just one space. If you say, okay, I plant this, then that size. All the plants have different space that they need. Carrots take smaller space, beetroot takes a different space, cauliflower takes a different space, spinach takes a different space. So think about your spacing when you are doing your planting. Okay, is there any questions before I go ahead?
Can I plant any time of the year?
Definitely not. So, once again, we have what we call a seasonal planting. We get seasonal planting. So, I know a lot of people realize that you get tomato right through the year, because that is the way the science just has modified the seeds to grow right through the year. But it's actually a summer crop. So we have 4 seasons, but the 2 main seasons that we work with is our winter and our summer. Because those 2 seasons, the weather is either very cold and the other one is very hot. So with spring and autumn, you can still play around with. But the two seasons that we focus on is the summer and the winter. So in summer, if you think about summer, what do you eat? We eat salads. So those are the stuff that we plant. We plant lettuce, we plant tomato, we plant... Yes, so those are the stuff that we eat during summer. We eat cool stuff. So we have a planting guide also that tells you exactly which month what can be planted in the Western Cape. Then during winter, what do we eat in winter? It's a lot of soup stuff. Turnips, your broad beans, your peas, and stuff like that. Leeks, definitely. So those is that's stuff that you need to think about. What do you eat in that season? So that is how you can tell exactly. But in your region that you live, you can actually see, okay, this is a summer crop, but I can plant it up to spring before the heat of the summer actually kicks in. So you can actually play a little bit around because your area that you are in might be favorable still for that specific crop. You understand? So that's your question answered. Any other questions?
If your soil is not, that should have all the minerals and all of that, I can go about, you've got more white sand than what you have.
I know you came up with like I did cover that.
Oh, okay,
already.
sorry.
But yeah, so definitely compost is the one thing that you can. But if you don't have a lot of compost, or you don't have the time to make compost, whatever vegetables you got peels, rotten fruit or whatever, maybe you can just make a small little hole in your ground if you have ground available, and then just put it in the hole and then close it up, and that way it will decompose in the soil. So that's one way of feeding your soil. So a lot of, especially the Western Cape, our soils are depleted. We really need to work a lot. And remember, your soil needs to be fed at least once a month. So if you made your, like we teach people like a trench bed, and you finish with the trench bed, but you need to feed it again afterwards, because when you plant, all the nutrition gets drawn from the soil. So you need to feed the soil again. Yes. Okay. Then a lot of people, when they do the gardening and they see, okay, there's something happening in my garden, I don't see anybody or see anything in my garden, but then now there's holes in my garden, there's holes in my plants, or there's pieces of my leaves that were eaten, but I don't see anything. What's happening? You know, so that is definitely where there's a pest in your garden. So you might not see it that moment, but it comes out during the night. So what you need to do, you need to be a night watch and go into your garden with your phone's torch and go and see where is this guy that is damaging my plants. So definitely it will either be a snail that we find common in most gardens, or the slug, which is basically the same family, but the slugs is more harder to find because you don't see a shell. You know, they are without the shell. So they're much harder to find. With the snail, you can see it easily because the shell is right there where you can see it. And then we have our common aphids, which is your plant lice. And your plant lice is your suckers. They suck basically the life out of your plant. So you get your green aphid, and then you get your black aphid, and for those people that have the Alsboom, they will identify it very quickly because they will zoom into the Alsboom, the black aphid. And the green aphid loves the cabbage family. So your brassicas, cauliflowers, and so on. So what can you do when you have these problems? You know, like, I've spent my time in this garden and now these pests come and they mess up my hard work. You know. So we use natural stuff for our garden, because we don't want to use any poisons for our plants. Because remember, whatever you put into the soil or onto your plant, you're going to eat it. So you wouldn't like to eat sluggen. Just as an example, you know, the pellets. You won't eat that yourself. But now you're putting it onto your plant or around your plant, and the plants absorb that. So automatically you're going to get it because you're eating your plants. And that is the thing that these chemical companies, they don't tell the people. That's why all our people are getting stomach ulcers, we're getting cancers, we become all these illnesses because we are eating all those pesticides and artificial fertilizers and stuff that is not good for us as humans. So, what we use is our normal sunlight soap. This is our green bar sunlight soap that we all know. And we use onions, and onions I know is getting very expensive. But you can use, if you are doing your food and you chop off all these end pieces, you keep the end pieces because the smell of the onion will still be in all these small pieces. Okay, and then we have our garlic cloves. Another garlic. Garlic is also very expensive, but if you can spare a few cloves from the bulk, or maybe buy a whole bulk, you use the bigger pieces maybe. The bigger pieces you maybe use for the food, and then the smaller pieces you can use for the garden to make your pesticide. So what we do is, you just take an onion,
Oh yeah.
so I'm gonna so with the sunlight soap, you can see I've got lots of different bottles here. So this is the one, the sunlight soap that I grade separately. So with the sunlight soap I grade separately, I can do different things with it, and not just the pesticide. I can use this to wash my hair because it's just plain sunlight soap. I can use this to wash my clothes, then it's like a liquid detergent. I can use it to do my dishes. I can use it for a lot of things to clean my house, whatever, because it's just sunlight soap. If you're going to mix it with a pesticide, it's going to end up like this. So you grate your onion, you grate your garlic, you put it into a bottle, and then after a few days you strain it to get a very sharp onion garlic smell. So then you mix these two, and it will end up like this. So you usually strain it. I use this old tea strainer to get all this onion and garlic pieces to get it out. So when you use it in a spray bottle, then it doesn't clog the pipe that it sprays. So you have to strain your mixture. What you can also do is cayenne pepper. I know a lot of people don't know the cayenne pepper, and this we just use in our food, but you can use it in the garden as well. You sprinkle this, and I know a lot of people also mention that cats is a problem in their gardens. They come into this thing, and it stunk, and it affects the soil as well. So if you buy cayenne pepper, so this you sprinkle around the plants. The cats come, they smell it, they would not like it because it will start sneezing and like. Also the snails and the slugs does not like cayenne pepper because it burns them. It's like your their feet, because they almost like they're tasting with their feet. So the cayenne pepper will burn them as soon as they start walking. Do not put salt on your soil. And I know a lot of people when they have slugs in the road, they want to put salt because that's the quickest thing that you can kill your the snails. But you can rather collect them and the snails if you can find them, and then you put it in a bucket and you put a little salt in the bucket and you kill them that way. That is the quickest way. But not put salt on the soil. So you rather use a cayenne pepper then. But remember, whenever you put something onto your garden, especially a powder, and it rains or you water, it's being diluted. So then you have to come back and you have to reapply. Okay. Even your pesticide, when you make your pesticide, put your pesticide in the afternoon. You spray it on in the afternoon, not in the morning, because remember our pollinators come out in the morning. So we want our pollinators like our bees and our butterflies. We want them to do their thing peacefully. So what you do is you spray this in the afternoon when they are done with their job, and then that's the time when the pests come out. The slugs don't come out in the morning. The snails they come out in the afternoon when you go sleep. When you go sleep, they come out because they're not safer for them to come out. So then you do your pesticide that time. So by the time when they come out, they're like, it's stinky, so everybody. And they're like, can only lekker nie, ek gaan maar nou eier somewhere else. You know, so they don't recognize the smell anymore, because remember insects, they don't recognize a plant as this is a cabbage plant and that's a tomato plant. They don't recognize, they recognize by a smell. It's like an aura that the plant gives off for the insects, and then they are drawn by that aura towards that specific plant. So when you spray your plants with something that smells completely different, then they completely distort. They like you know, they don't recognize the plant, they don't recognize the smell. So that's one way of deterring.
So do you spray the what you just made now on the plant?
You spray it on the plant, on the leaves.
Or
I would recommend you put it on the leaves, especially behind the leaves as well. Because the pest usually lays the eggs and aphids are behind the leaf. So make sure that you get it all covered up behind the leaf. So you have to cover the whole leaf. On the ground it's not going to do much protection. Any questions?
Sunlight liquid, can you use that?
I would not recommend sunlight liquid, but a lot of people actually said that they had a success, but you don't use a lot because it's got more chemicals than the balm, the soap balm. So I wouldn't recommend you use a lot of it, but you can, because what happens is the soap balm is not really as a pesticide, but it makes the solution stick to the plant. Because if you're just going to water the plant just so, then the water just rolls off the leaves. Because the plants have a waxy protection cover. So when you put soap on, it makes the solution stick to the plant. Yes.
The snails and stuff that you now collected on the plant, what do you do with it? Find another use for the dead snails and put it in the soil?
So what I usually do is, that water, it will now stink. Nobody will like that smell, not even the snails will like it because it smells like dead flesh to them. And so you can put that water around your barrier of your garden. You know, where you know they hide most of the time. And then the shells will definitely be empty, so you can scatter those. Remember, those shells still have nutrients in it. So it can actually feed your soil. So either you can crush it and put it back into your soil, or you can just scatter it around your garden. So it will smell like a graveyard for them. For the ones that's alive. Okay, no, I don't want to go here. So you can crush the eggshells, the stale shells, and put it into your soil, or you can scatter it around. Some people actually find a very creative way of painting them. So they find nice big garden snails, the shells, that's empty, and they make nice patterns. They painted with, I don't know what they painted with, but yeah, you can be creative in your garden as much as you feel like. Yes. Any other questions? Okay, then we spoke about seasonal planting, but remember, when you are doing your garden, a lot of people feel I must plant a lot of cabbages, or I must just plant a lot of spinach because that's what my family eat. It is best to plant a variety in your garden. Because what happens when you plant a variety garden, plants actually help each other. So that is where your companion planting also comes in. So like the onion would give a smell off that there's a pest for the cabbages maybe, or so on. The carrots might do another job for another plant. So that is where your interplanting comes up in your companion planting. So it's best to have your plants, all like different plants into your garden instead of just you gaan nou klomp kolle plant because there is no was a favorite plant. You gaan nou klomp aan die plant. Also, when you interplant, like you get your carrots, the beetroot, your root crops, they are all light feeders. Then you get your heavy feeders like your cabbages, cauliflowers, your tomatoes, or heavy feeders, your peppers, those are heavy feeders that need more nutrition. So instead of when you do your fertilizers, which you're going to feed now the bed with compost, you don't feed the whole bed. You feed your heavy feeders. So your light feeders, which is your root crops, they don't need that much nutrition. So you understand that is what we need to do. So what we practice is also that we use less compost by just focusing on the heavy feeders instead of the light feeders also. You understand? You get it? Is there any questions?
So do you only compost the one time when you're planting? Or
No.
must you keep
So
on?
when you're planting, you have to add compost. But remember, a month after that, that nutrition has been depleted. You have to feed again. So you must compost again, or give it even your liquid fertilizer. So liquid fertilizer you make with compost, or even your manure. Or if you go to the sea and you can get some seaweed, that is also brilliant. So you can fill it with liquid fertilizer made from natural stuff. Yes. So you have to feed it regularly your plants. Yes.
Is that while it's growing?
While it's growing, yes.
Okay.
Yes, while it's growing. So you can't just feed once or just give water. Remember that the bigger the plant gets, the more nutrition they're going to need. The same like with children. If a child from 15, 20 or 15 or 18 years old, you can't feed him the same food like a 5-year-old. You know, so as your plant grows, the more nutrition it's going to need. So you have to feed the plant. Otherwise, it's going to be struggling to survive by what that looks like. Okay? Is there any other questions?
How do you make liquid fertilizer with seaweed?
Excuse me?
How do you make the fertilizer with the seaweed?
So with the seaweed, if you go to the beach, you bring back your seaweed. So usually the ribbons one is the best and not the tube. You wash off that seaweed because remember it's been in salt water and it's got a lot of salt on it. So you wash off that salty water, that saltiness. You chop it up and you put it in a bucket, either a 5-liter bucket or 10-liter, all depends how much you collected. So you put it into a bucket, you leave it for a few days and then use that water to fertilize your plants. So with that, the first lot of water you have to dilute because remember it is very rich. The first batch is always rich and it's concentrated, so you have to dilute it. Because then you add another batch of more water to so you used all the first batch. If you add water again, you use that undiluted. So you can use the same bag. So what we do is we just have an onion bag. You can put it, or if you don't have an onion bag, you have an old stocking. You can put it into the stocking. And because that way, when you use the water, then it's not all the little pieces in there. Then it's basically straight like a tea bag.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, but so you basically just take the bag out and then you use the water instead of having everything in there and then you still have to strain it afterwards. Okay, so the same with now a lot of people don't have stinging nettle in their garden anymore. Stinging nettle is a brilliant fertilizer as well. Yes, and if you don't know, comfrey is also a plant that we use for fertilizer, and that's also does great for plants. Yeah. The dry ones, I would recommend you use it first, so otherwise it's going to be not a fresh rooibos tea. Also, on that, a lot of people make tea, and they put the sugar, the milk in, whatever, and then they take the tea out, and then they really use it on the garden. Which is a no, because the sugar in the milk is very bad for the soil. So you have to make a tea first, you draw your tea, then you take the tea bag out, and then you can add your sugar and your milk to the cup afterwards. And so the tea bag with the sugar and the milk is no good.
So some people say you must open the tea bag. open the tube,
Yes.
you can use the inside.
Yes, because what happens if you leave it like that, the whole tea bag like that, the tea bag itself have a lot of plastic in it, so it takes very long to break open to get to the bag, to the inside. So it's best to break it open and then use that into your garden.
So I don't understand, is the tea like also like fertilizer?
It's not, I wouldn't recommend it as a fertilizer, but it helps the soil also.
Okay.
Nutrients.
Yeah, so nutrient, yes, it do help because it do have nutrients in it. So yes, you can use it in the soil, definitely. Also, a lot of people put coffee grounds into their soil, but not too much. You can use coffee grounds. So if you're close to a coffee shop, they use coffee grounds that they just want to throw away. You can use that coffee grounds also into your garden. Okay, you got a question?
Yes, maybe it's a funny question. If you're saying a few days, what is the maximum for a few days? Because
So a maximum, it all depends on what you are using. So this, with the compost tea, when you make compost tea, you just leave it for 1 day. Then there's other stuff like the seaweed you can use for 3 days, you can leave it for 3 days. I would say maximum 5 days, because afterwards, remember, if water stands still for a long period, it draws insects and also turns into an algae, so which is not good for your plants. So what you can do is, if it has to stand for 5 days or a week or so, you come in and you just stir it quickly with a stick, and then you leave it, and then you go. Then the next day you come and then you just stir it again, and then you go. That is if the solution has to stand for about a week. But if it's just for 2 or 3 days, then you use it within that time period. You can't leave fertilizer water and forget about it and come back a month and then say, oh yes, I forgot about this. You know, so it's best that you actually put something like that inside. So if it's by your back door, when you go out, maybe you go to the washing line, it must be right there in front of you so you can remember. Because when it's out of your sight, it's out of your mind. So just remember that, put something that is important in your sight. So even if it has by your kitchen door, inside your house, whatever it is, put it where you walk past a lot. Okay? Is there any other questions?
When is the best time to water your plants and how often?
Very good question. The best time to water your plants is in the morning before the sun rises. And I know that it doesn't mean it's not whatever, but before 9 o'clock, I would say, if you have to now a bit later, before the sun really is high. So before 9 o'clock, you would water your plants, and then during winter, it's climate, so you don't water that often. But in summer, you water twice a day. So you can water in the mornings, and then in the afternoon again, because remember, that water, also that water will be evaporated. So then the afternoon before the sun sets, so here 4 o'clock, you can water again. Okay, so that you just say, no, it's exactly, keep the soil moist. It's not drying out and so on. So that's the best time. So early evening, late afternoon, yes, but not when the sun is completely down. So that time, the soil will stay moist for too long. And that is what makes it easier for the slugs, because it's a soil nut, and slugs and snails, it's easier for them to maneuver their way around the garden, yes. Is there any other questions?
You said if you use seaweed or manure or fertilizer, that the first lot must be diluted. If it's bottled, then how long can it stand?
It's basically the same time if it's bottled. So you use the whole lot of mixture within one go. So if you're only making 2 liters, for instance, you just say you have 2 liters. So you use 2 liters on all your plants, and then you do another batch after that. Alright, so just remember that you can use different things to fertilize your plant, as long as it's a natural thing. Even the weeds that you are taking out of your garden, like your dandelion, your chickweed, your pigweed, all that you can put into a bottle, put water in, because remember the nutrients that that plant took from the soil is in the leaves. So you can use the weeds even that you take out of your garden and put that in water and fertilize your plants with it as well. So yeah, just make sure that your fertilizer water is used on time. So what we recommend is that you at least fertilize once a week your plants, especially with the liquid manure, because it's easier to absorb for the plant. So once a week, keep a diary, which is like a garden planner at hand. Even if you have to place it on your cupboard or on your fridge or somewhere where you can see it and look at it or remind yourself, put something up so it can remind you, Mondays is my fertilizer day or whatever. You know, that is the one key that you have to put up a reminder for yourself. And because our lives get so busy, we've got children, we've got work, we've got church, we've got whatever events we need to attend to, and then we keep on forgetting about our one thing that we actually have to put some energy or some time into. And gardening doesn't have to be a whole day thing, people. It can be maximum a half an hour job. It all depends on the size of garden that you have. You know, so if you have like a 1 by 2 meter trench bed that you teach, that spends 15 minutes, 20 minutes max. It's all time that it really needs. You know, so you water for 10 minutes, you weed for another 5 minutes, and that's it. So I look maybe for pests or whatever it is. So gardening is an everyday job basically, but you must put your love into it. You can't just be, okay, but no use. Because plants are alive. They feel the energy that comes to you. So whenever you feel stressed or you feel worried, you can just go and sit in the garden and just look at the plant. Then you will feel that energy go from you, that sadness, that worry, you know. So it's very therapeutic to garden. So even if you have children also that's very anxious, very, you know, that has anxiety, just introduce them to gardening. And that you can actually see how calming that person becomes, and you know, the mind changes, the whole being start changing. People that doesn't have anything to do, you have a child that's sitting at home, so they'll have a phone, you know, so they'll have for Wi-Fi, computer, whatever. Try to get them out and let them help you in the garden for 5 or 10 minutes. It's very, very good that we need to get our youth involved in gardening. Is there any other questions?
Silly question.
No silly questions.
I don't have a garden. Can I plant in boxes
Definitely, yes.
inside the house?
Inside the house, not preferably. But if your house gets a lot of light,
Okay.
then it must be like for instance, you get some direct sunlight through a see-through roof or something. Your plants can survive on that. But plants, they actually need direct sunlight to do the job it needs to grow. So, especially vegetables. Growing it indoors is not really favorable, but even if you get a clear roof, if you have a clear roof, that can give some light to the plant, it might survive.
Oh, window light.
Oh, window light, yes. But remember, with the window is glass. Glass concentrates heat, and then can burn the plant. So that is also not good. Yeah. Yeah. Is there any other questions?
Natasha, I also don't have a garden because everything is limited. But now on the side of the house, I have a big barn now. Okay, so the sun only that side, because it's a flat, the masonette gets sun like, I'll say 5 hours is Is that enough?
5 hours could be
Morning sun.
enough, definitely, as long as it's from the morning to the afternoon sun. Because the morning sun is very important because it basically wakes up the plant. And then what happens when you get your plants only from the afternoon to the evening sun, it's that very harsh sun immediately on the plant. It makes the plants suffer. So also, when you have, for instance, you live in a flat and you only get it afternoon to morning sun, but you have a wall on that side that the morning sun gets. So you can actually put some reflectors on there, like some silver packets, the picture packets and the silver inside. You put it on that wall, so the sun basically gets reflected back. So that way the plants will think, okay, the sun is there, but then the sun is actually on that side, behind the wall, behind the house. So you put up reflectors, so for the plants to actually think that the sun is out there, definitely. Then on the container gardening, people with any space, even if you just have a walkway of half a meter, you know, you're walking to your gate, but from the door to there, there's only a half a meter space. You can, and it's maybe paved or whatever, and you put some containers there, a paint drum, some tires, an old drawer, an old cupboard, whatever it is that you can put in, you can plant in anything. I've seen people plant in old jeans that they put onto a plank and a couple of hours put the soil in, and they got a nice big by the waist plant coming up, and it's another plant coming out here and another plant coming out here. So you can make it a height of what you have. So you don't usually have to go and buy whatever you want. So look around in your yard. There are old patchy, for the baby masking of a vast image of a 5-liter container or 20-liter drum.
Old cutter.
Old cutter, whatever you can use in your garden, and actually make that fun for yourself. Paint it a nice color, put some colorful shells or whatever on there.
Just make sure, I think they must just make sure that the depth is okay for what you're planting.
Yes.
Because different vegetables need
Different,
depth.
yes. So the size of your container is very important. Like I mentioned, the space for your roots is very important. So if you have a thing this shallow, you can't put a cabbage or cauliflower in there. You could the roots gaan ek kan nou nie veer of. So you have to think about the depth of your
planted the cabbage, you might harvest the strawberry.
Oh, you planted cabbage and you get Brussels sprouts, like Brussels sprouts, small Brussels sprouts. Yes. So remember your size of your depth of your container is very important. You know, and sometimes you can't, you only have the shell, and but think about the crops that maybe you can use it to put your seeds in. Like this thing is quite small, I can only plant seeds in there, but it has to get out of there in the after stage, and it needs to go into a bigger container. So whatever you have, but yes, your space is very important.
And also those black walnut bags. Can you plant
Yes,
in
those are natural fibers, so you can plant in there. They're quite sturdy. So when you put the soil in there, they can actually stand up in there. So you can plant in there, definitely. Good. Alright. Is there any other questions?
When you're planning your space for what to plant, what goes well together, because I've now got spinach and beetroot and broccoli, but now what I'm making space as I go along. I don't have an overall picture of how I want it, so how can you assist with planning?
So with your planning of your garden is very important. Now, you might not believe me, beetroot and spinach are family, you know that? They are family. So because they're family, they take the same nutrition basically out of the ground. So I wouldn't recommend planting them next to each other because they need the same nutrition, so they get a fight 4 years. But whatever you have in your garden is, first of all, you need to look at your sunlight when you start your garden. Is there enough sun? Then what you have, or what the family eats the most. So you would say, okay, my family loves carrots, or whatever it is. Then you plant maybe a row or two of carrots, and then you plant your leafy crop. Then you plant your fruit crops. Like now, it's time for tomatoes, peppers, chilies. You plant those, brinjals as well. You can plant, and then so on. So you plant one row of each. So you have a variety of vegetables and not just one type of vegetable. So that is the best way of planning your garden. So we have the planting guide, like I said, and then exactly for each month it says what you can plant, how far you can plant it from each other, the seeds, when to transplant, when is it harvest time. So that is a basic guide that we got, and we can actually help. It can help you by maintaining your garden and getting the best out of your garden.
Will we be able to take a shot like you've got there?
Unfortunately, I can't give everybody a because this is the Silver
But we
Life.
can take a picture of it, eh?
Yeah, of course, you can take a picture of it. So what you can, so we've got, because we work in such a big area, we've got a winter, the summer rainfall, and we've got a winter rainfall booking. So we, in the southern suburbs of the Western Cape, we go for the summer rainfall area, so they exactly can see what you can plant, when you can plant it, how far, and so on. So this is the guide that we've got. Unfortunately, don't have anything to give to the group. Is there any other questions? Nothing at the moment.
Very interesting.
Is there anything that you can't think about? Maybe for the pesticide. Yes, remember, your house plants are also your babies. You know, a lot of people, when they start with the vegetable garden, they forget about the babies inside. And then those guys, they get pissed, and then they struggle. It's like, oh, nobody give me a seed. You know, they just see the plants going yellow. So yes, the same pesticide can go for them, and the same fertilizer water. You know, so when you fertilize your plants, remember your house plants also needs fertilizer as well. So at least once a month I would recommend, because most of the house plants, they don't need that much attention. And that's why we love them, because hulle kyk sommer na hulle self, kan vir 'n maand van hulle vergeet. En dan loop altyd okay.
So just remind us again, what goes into the pesticide, the sunlight soap?
The sunlight soap, your
Garlic.
your onion. You can put in chilies if you want to, but I've figured out that some plants doesn't like the chilies that much, so it burns the leaves. So you can put in a chili, but the garlic and the onion with the sunlight soap mixture, they will definitely do the job. Oh yes, definitely. The eggshells. Remember, I've also talked about the snails that don't comes out when it's at night. So when you crush your eggshells, so you dry it first in the sun, and then you crush it, like a fineness, nice and fine. But it must be like a lot of eggshells. I only have this left at the moment. So you put this as a barrier around your plants. So that also deters slugs and snails. So your eggshells is very, but also feed your soil with calcium. So if you have a calcium deficiency in your soil, then you can put this around your plant. So it must be a nice barrier around your plants, so that you can see actually how it deters. The other trick that I also taught people, and it was actually verified that it works, is that people put a small tub of beer in the soil. So if you have like infestation of snails and slugs, sometimes small snails, you can't really see them. So when you put some beer in the tub and you sink it into the soil a bit, and they are drawn to the yeast smell of the beer, and then they drown in there. So it was again, it was again verified that it actually didn't work, because they find immediately the next day they found a lot of snails drunk. They start dying in the beer. Yes. So that is one thing that you can also do with the snails. They come out in a nice way.
And those small little black things that they call apis, they come to the yellow flowers.
So those are one of
the things before you can enjoy the beauty of it.
Oh yeah, they love the flowers. So they are one of the pollinators, because they go around, they actually pollinate the flowers, but then they also eat the leaves. They eat the leaves, yes. But that is part of the insect world. You know, I know a lot of us just want to kill because they're not eating, they just want to kill, but rather try to deter a pest by, if you're going to plant a flower that is specific insect like, you plant more of the flowers. And you maybe plant maybe on a further border of your garden compared to your vegetable garden. So if you know that specific, like marigold, draws a specific pest, so you would rather plant it away, so you draw the insects away from your vegetables, and then they will leave your vegetable garden alone. Yes.
Are the herbs that you can grow with your vegetables to deter the insects now?
Yeah, so wilde-als is very good. Lavender is also amazing. Thyme, definitely. So you can make a whole row of thyme. Parsley also. I've noticed that parsley doesn't get attacked very quickly. So parsley is another deterrent, yes, herb that you can use. Celery also is amazing, especially during winter. Then you plant celery. So celery also don't get attacked by pests. So rather plant those herbs in your garden.
So where would you suggest we plant it? Because now you must now plotted out your whole garden of your rows of vegetables. But now to have deterrents, you plant it on the outside or in between? In between your plants?
You can actually plant it, like thyme doesn't grow big. So you can plant it in between your beds. If you, for instance, a rosemary can grow a hedge. With a rosemary you can grow a hedge. So you can put that on the outside. It all depends what type of herb you're using. Like celery doesn't last forever. It's a seasonal thing. So you can put that also in between your plants. Parsley also die out after about a season or sometimes it lasts for 2 seasons. So you can put that in between your plants. But like rosemary, it's an annual, perennial, sorry. So it can go on forever. So you rather put that on the outskirts of your garden. Yes, and like aloes is also a perennial. You can plant that on the outside.
And that grows very big.
Yes, you know, so that's why it's, instead of planting it in between your vegetables, plant it on the outside. Definitely, yes.
Sorry, and what about chives? Isn't chives also good?
Chives is also amazing to plant, but that can you can plant in between because it doesn't grow that big. You know, so you can actually turn it out also if it do become a little bit too much. You can turn it out by taking a few of the bulbs out and then spread it further. So chives, spring onion, those can be planted in between your
And it's also nice in a meal.
Yes,
Yeah.
and the chive flowers is amazing. You can eat the chive flowers. Yes.
What about the mushroom? You get the mushroom leaf also.
The mushroom?
Mushroom leaf. You get the mushroom leaf also.
Mm-hmm.
So can you use? They say you can use that also in your salad. mushroom leaf?
I am not familiar with the mushroom leaf.
No, because
but
my
if,
daughter
if it's
brought-
edible and it's certified and verified, that's edible, then you can eat it.
No, because my daughter brought some from the school in Mitchells Bay,
Mhm.
the mushroom leaves.
Okay.
And she said that you can use it into your salad as well.
Then it's all good. So mushrooms or the leaves doesn't grow anywhere. It only grows in a certain climate. So and also under certain conditions because it can become poisonous if it's very dangerous to just pick off any mushrooms. Like a lot of people when they start off the garden and they put a lot of compost or manure and stuff in, then this mushrooms pops up in the garden. That is not edible mushrooms. Those mushrooms is just there to indicate that your soil is healthy and fertile. So then what you do is you just dig that back into your garden.
I mean, the snails now already attack the leaves of the broccoli or the actual veggies will come out.
It all depends on the amount of damage it caused. So if they started eating from the small inside leaves, then the plant will struggle to recover. But the bigger leaves on the outside, it might not have that much impact on the plant. So rather try to catch your problem early. That's why I say gardening is an everyday job. You can't just leave for a few days and then come back and you see a whole plant is destroyed. So you must be every day you must be in your garden and catch whatever problem it is immediately. Yes, early detection is the best prevention. Anything else? Okay, I think I've spent enough time.
Okay, thank you, Natasha. That was amazing. Okay, so if you have any further questions, you can take Natasha's number down. If you're interested in the course, the program, you can also let her know. But it only occurs every 3 months, right?
Yeah, every 3 months and the next program will only be in February next year. So you can start registering now already. If you're interested or know about people that's interested, maybe take my number. And I'm starting to recruit already for next year. Because there's a lot of people, spots going. And it's just during the day, so if you're unemployed preferably or at home, from 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock is the classes. But if you have people that maybe say they want Saturday classes and doing Saturday classes as well in groups, I'm starting one in just plain. But yeah, I'll let you know about it. So I might do one Saturday in just plain and one Saturday in whichever area I find it for Saturdays. It also will be a one day, the Saturday class will just be a one-day workshop on a specific topic. So if the topic would be planting, I would cover the whole day with just planting. The topic on all if it's compost and fertilizer, it would just be that topic for that day.
So now we are going to do the rest of the sessions. I just want to say a little something about juicing. We have a juicing section at the back. So it's different types of juices for different hormones, and it's just organic vegetables that is used. So the thing with juicing is it's extremely healthy for the body. It's extremely nutritious. And our nutrients, because we do not always eat the way we should, we are nutrient depleted. Okay? So we need to get as many nutrients back into our bodies as possible. But on top of that, if you have ailments or whatever, and yes, you're eating your vegetables, but to get the maximum amount of your recommended daily usage for those vegetables, you know, the RDA, it is best to also then juice when you have things like cancer or diabetes or so forth, you know, juicing is also preferable. So then you make different juices for the specific ailments that you have. Okay? So then you will get the proper amount of the nutrients in, but it will also boost your immune system. So you'll get the exact roughage, sorry, not roughage, the exact nutrients, the exact everything that the plant has, just without the fiber, into the juicing. With no preservatives, no nothing. So that's why juicing is so important, because you're extracting everything out of the actual vegetable, so to say, and you are consuming that. So that is why it's so good. And then what you use, the pulp that is left, you can then also use to make stock, and also in your compost, and also to fertilize your vegetables as well. So everything is a sustainable concept, you know. You try to use things and so that you don't waste so much, but that you're also creating a sustainable, healthy living for yourself, for your family, but also when you're telling others and they learn, then you are spreading that news, and it really enriches the community as well. And then we have the juicing at the back, so there's different juices for different ailments. There's a little PowerPoint screen running if you want to read some of that, so you can go to the back and get your little tot if you want. Then we have your diabetes and your blood pressure, that if you want to check, you can have that at that station. And then you have your eye section here. If you want your eyes tested, you can do that as well. So thank you everybody for coming. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Yes, Natasha, do you just want to give your number to everybody?